want to tell you about something that will have the single greatest lasting impact on your productivity: habit stacking. And it's going to completely change the way that you set and achieve your biggest goals. It sounds like a simple subject, but what I have to say may surprise you. In this video, I'm going to explain how habits are formed, how we keep them, and why habit stacking will revolutionize your personal productivity. Make sure that you stick around to the end because I'm going to give you my personal hack on habit stacking that's completely changed my year, and it will give you that extra cheat code to be able to achieve your biggest goals. Okay, to start with, I'm going to pull out my notes because I have done some research for this, and I think the first thing we need to understand is how habits are formed. So to form a habit, there are 4 stages. First, it starts with the cue, then the craving, then the response, and then the reward. The cue is what triggers your brain to initiate the habit. For example, when you wake up in the morning, getting out of bed might be your cue to go and jump in the shower. Now, craving represents the motivation for reward. For example, when you're hungry, the craving might be hunger. When you get the urge to go scroll on Instagram, the craving is that dopamine hit. Now, the response is the actual habit or action. So in the examples we've spoken about, that would be getting in the shower each morning, going and having a bite to eat, or scrolling on Instagram. And the reward is the dopamine hit that you get from having completed the action. Let's use the really simple example of brushing your teeth to illustrate what this means. So the cue would be when you wake up in the morning and you get out of bed. The craving is wanting to have the feeling of clean teeth. The response is going and brushing your teeth, and the reward is the satisfaction and dopamine hit you get from having completed the action. Okay, now that we understand how habits work, I want to talk about synaptic pruning. I know, sounds very complicated, but it's not. Synaptic pruning is basically what your brain does in order to make habit forming easier for you. The difference between babies and adults is that adults have a bunch of pruned synapses based on the habits that we have performed throughout our life. So that means that someone that's played the piano for 10 years, their synapses are pruned to help them to play the piano regularly. They have a brain that is set up to perform those pathways again and again more easily. Basically, the more you do something, the more the brain strengthens the connections to that pathway to make it easier the next time. The brain likes to form a strong network of neurons to support regular or consistent behavior. This is exactly why you don't have to worry about forgetting to brush your teeth at night or forgetting to get out of bed in the morning. You've done those things so many times that your brain has pruned the pathways to make it easier for you to remember in future. Habit stacking involves using the connectedness of those pathways to your advantage. The idea is we stack one habit on top of another to make it easier to remember the new habit. This creates an association with something you already know and have practiced in the past. So actually in language learning, we use the exact same technique. And if you want to improve your ability to learn things quickly, for me, I've been studying French recently and trying to build up my French knowledge. And the nerds call this analogous information. Analogous meaning we relate it to something we already know. So when I'm trying to learn new French vocab, something that I'll consistently try and do is find some way to relate it to something I already know. By linking that information to something that's already well set in my brain, it is a lot easier to retain that information for the long term. It works the exact same way in habit building. If we can pair a habit to one that is already cemented in our brain, we have a much higher chance of success in creating and building that new habit. Attaching habits to one another also allows you to take advantage of the natural momentum that is built when you start one task. We're way more likely to be able to do something if the ball is already rolling, whereas if we have to start from a standstill every time, it's a lot harder to go and complete those habits. I want to make this very clear. It is so important to master a habit before you stack another habit on top of it. Picture it like the foundations of a building. If you've got unsteady foundations and you keep adding brick and mortar on top, that foundation is going to come crumbling down. What you need to do first is build a strong foundation, establish a strong habit, and once it feels like second nature, then you can build on top of it. So an example of habit stacking would be that every time I come home from the gym, I go and have a protein shake. I've established going to the gym every day as a comfortable habit, and I've built on top of that by adding a protein shake in. This allows me to create associative memory so I don't have to go through the mental fatigue of remembering a protein shake every single day. I know that when the cue comes in, which is having gone to the gym, my brain is then reminded to go and have a protein shake. What we do here is we create a chain of habits. So why do we care? Why does it even matter to form habits on a regular basis? I think forming habits is all about delayed versus instant gratification. A person with purely negative habits most likely has those habits centered around instant gratification. For example, going and doom scrolling on our phone provides the instant gratification of a dopamine hit, but in the long run, it doesn't serve you or put you on a path towards success. The reason why we want to form conscious habits is to create structures that push us towards delayed gratification. Most things that result in delayed gratification take us further in the long term. For example, if you can push yourself to go to the gym every day, even though going to the gym probably isn't considered enjoyable for most people, in the long run, you'll be fitter, you'll be healthier, your general happiness will be higher, and you'll have something physical to show for the hours and hours of work that you've put into going to the gym every day. As animals, we generally default to the lazier and easier option. We have to consciously choose to take the hard path to allow us to reach the rewards at the end. This is why habit stacking is so important. It creates the building blocks for us to have a much healthier day-to-day life, and it gets us much closer to achieving our goals. So when people talk about making habits easier to conduct every day, they'll often reference this frame point. Make the cue obvious, make the craving attractive, make the response easy, and make the reward satisfying. These are all ways of hacking that habit to trick your brain into thinking it's easier than it is. For example, making the cue obvious might mean leaving your gym clothes out the night before, so that when you wake up, you reduce the mental load and the mental fatigue of having to go and pick out an outfit when you're tired or potentially feeling less motivated. Making the craving attractive might be owning nice workout wear, so that when you go to the gym, you feel a little bit more motivated to go because you know you've got a cute outfit to put on. Making the response easy might be signing up to a class so that you don't have to wear your brain down by getting itself to the gym and then also having to figure out what your workout's going to be when you get to the gym. You reduce the mental load, you just go to a class, all you have to do is show up. Making the reward satisfying might be that once you've gone to the gym consistently for a few weeks, you allow yourself to go and eat a nice meal, or maybe buy a new activewear set, and then the cycle continues. All of these little hacks can help you to establish a habit better and prepare you to be able to stack on top of it. So science seems to think that it takes at least 3 weeks to create a habit. So I highly recommend you make sure that you've been doing something for at least a few weeks before you attempt to stack on top of it. Make sure that that habit basically feels like second nature. Once it feels comfortable and like you don't have to think about it, that's a great time to stack a new habit on top. Now, here's my spin on habit stacking that has been the thing that has honestly been the most impactful on my year and has completely changed my ability to achieve the goals that I set for myself. I actually sat down the other day and reviewed my New Year's resolutions, and for the first year ever, I am about 50% of the way to achieving almost all of my New Year's goals. And given that it's June, I think that's pretty impressive. In the past, I've set New Year's goals again and again and again that I've never come any closer to achieving. So for me, I think this is a really good sign that this little hack is very helpful. Follow along with me. Now, what I want you to do is habit stack your perfect day. And I know you're thinking, Hannah, what does my perfect day mean? I want you to think about the kind of person that you want to be in 1 year, 5 years, or maybe even 10 years. What does that person look like? What goals have they achieved? Now we're going to break down every single one of those goals and achievements. What would you have to do every day to be able to achieve them? Maybe the version of you in 5 years is bilingual or has learned another language, owns their own business, is fit and active and eats a healthy diet, and knows how to set aside time for themselves and keep a healthy work-life balance. Not that those are any of the things I'm trying to achieve. So what would you have to do every single day to get closer to achieving those goals. It might be sitting down for half an hour to learn a language. It might be making sure that you read a little bit of a book every day so that you're expanding your knowledge and personal growth. It might be that you need to go to the gym consistently or run consistently or track your macros or any one of a number of different things. You need to be making affirmative action towards your goals every single day. In my personal opinion, it's not enough to set a goal to do it once a week or twice a week if you're serious about achieving them. I know for myself, I just don't do well in the shades of gray. And I'm aware not everyone will agree with me, but when I set myself a goal that's doing something a few times a week, it doesn't translate to me actually doing that thing because there's so much margin for error. Now I'm going to use the example of me learning French because that's been one of my goals for a really long time. Tell me why I sat down and wondered to myself at the start of the year, why has learning French been one of my biggest goals and absolutely nothing in my day-to-day life reflects that? It honestly shocked me to admit it, but nothing in my daily routine reflected the fact that I really wanted to learn French. So I crafted my perfect day, start to finish, doing everything that would take me closer to the goals I wanted to achieve. For me, that was setting aside half an hour every day to study some French. So you've crafted your perfect day, you're looking at it thinking, how on earth is anyone gonna do all of these things in one day? And I know you're probably wondering, how does this even relate to habit stacking? Hear me out. As you can probably imagine, you would feel totally overwhelmed if tomorrow you went about trying to perform that perfect day. And unfortunately, that's exactly what I tried to do. I wrote down about 15 habits that would get me closer to my 15 goals. I went about trying to complete them in an entire day, and at my best, I achieved about 3 of them. The weight of the number of tasks I had to complete every day felt insurmountable. What I want you to do instead is stack the habits one by one. Give yourself at least 3 weeks of perfecting a habit before you stack the next one, rather than completely overwhelm your brain and system by trying to change 100% of who you are in one day. Improve by 1% every single day. Trust me when I say you will look at your day in a few months' time and be shocked by how many consistent habits you've been able to achieve. The reason why I think creating your perfect day is so important is because doing it every day means I have no choice in the matter. There's no debating which day I might feel more motivated to do it, which day I might have more time. I completely remove the decision fatigue of a once or twice a week habit. Instead, it's boring and repetitive and much easier for your brain to follow. What the end result is that naturally you will not achieve 100% output of these habits. There will be days where you feel sick, days where you genuinely run out of time, or life just gets in the way. But the net average will be way higher. I personally think this gives you the best chance at achieving those big goals that seem oh so far away. By doing this, hopefully you can create a single day that reflects all of your biggest goals. And by the way, the entirety of our lives are just made up of single days. If you found this video helpful, then please give it a like and subscribe to my channel to let me know that you want me to make more videos like this in the future. Let me know your thoughts on habit stacking below. Does it still sound super gimmicky to you, or do you agree with some of the things I've listed in this video? I would love to know. All right, love y'all, bye.